Hey lovelies, welcome back to this week's video where I'm going to be talking about some tips and tricks on how I prep for a last minute audition. Now with audition season coming up quicker than we could even imagine, it is so important to be thinking about how we are prepping for our audition seasons. Now, believe me, I'm the first person to know that the best auditions can come up at the worst times when you have 4 exams for university and 1,000 classes to do and shows you're part of and all of that craziness. So today I'm going to be sharing with you how I manage my audition prep and how I make it all happen and how I'm able to submit material that I'm really proud of. So first things first, as much as it's kind of difficult and a little counterintuitive to say, the best thing you can do is be prepared for any audition at any moment. Now, I do not mean you have to have a pantheon of every song ready in your mind. What I do mean is keeping your book and monologues fresh and updated. So what I mean by this is I have a book of audition songs that I use for just about every single audition. I'm not getting a new song for each audition that pops up. Now, I have different genres of music in this book, and I have different monologues for different ideas, like a Shakespeare and a contemporary and a classic and a funny and a dramatic and all of these different things. So no matter what audition comes up, unless they're giving me material, I have something to submit. And as a non-equity actor, a lot of the time you have an audition, you're submitting your own material. So my songs in my book are always memorized, and I'm always trying to keep them fresh and thinking about doing the homework on them. What's your moment before, and what's your tactics, and who are you talking to, and all of that stuff, and keeping that fresh in my mind. So when I get a casting call, I can say, what best fits this breakdown? Look at the songs in my book. Ooh, song number 3, whatever that might be, make it up, On the Steps of the Palace. Okay, I'm ready to go, and now I can sing that song and submit it, no problem. Instead of having to be like, oh my goodness, what song am I going to sing? I don't know a song time, I don't know something for this, you know? And so keeping that early prep ready is so important, especially heading into EPA and ECC season. The second thing I always do is I prioritize my vocal and my physical health. Now, this can be really hard, especially heading into the fall and winter, and allergies are going crazy and sickness is all over the place. It's really hard to prioritize your health. Imagine you're not feeling too great, you get a casting call, and you're doing a million things. The last thing you want to think about is prioritizing your body and your health. But if you do that, you're going to feel so much better about what you're submitting. So if I'm not feeling great, I drink lots and lots of water on any day, especially going into those rough seasons. I like to steam with my Vicks vocal steamer. It keeps my cords nice and hydrated, and it just keeps me ready and in the mentality to sing. And Grethers are my best friend. They're these little vocal pastilles, and all of this is just to keep hydrated, because especially going into the cold seasons, it's really easy to feel super dehydrated, and that automatically makes me feel like I'm not prepared for an audition. Even if I drank a ton of water that morning, or I warmed up, or anything else, if I'm not feeling vocally my best, I don't feel like I did my best and presented my best work in an audition. Now, this goes the same for your body. I like to, anytime I'm getting ready for an audition, do a full check-in and just think about, is my heart racing? How am I feeling? Am I feeling tension or sickness anywhere? And just having that check-in and saying, okay, I know this, I'm aware of what's happening, makes me feel so much better going into the room instead of discovering how I'm not feeling too great while I'm there. All of this information will inform too how you're gonna prep. Maybe your prep is prioritizing stretching before you go to your audition, or maybe your prep is really making sure your cords are intact. Or maybe you're feeling great and you're like, I am ready to do this character breakdown, and that's all you have to worry about. Being super aware of your instrument is absolutely crucial when you're going into audition season. The next more practical side of this is, how do I memorize quickly? For me, memorizing in words are not my favorite thing in the world. I am not great at memorizing uhs and thus and all of those little tiny baby words. So what do? I like to get my script. I love to highlight my lines. I don't know why. In my head, if the lines are highlighted, I can remember them. And I'll read my script over and over again, and I'll section it into chunks based on where the beats are in the scene. So let's say the first part of the scene's really happy. Oh, now there's a change and we're talking about something new. I'll memorize just that section first, and I'll make sure I'm word perfect. So first I'll memorize it by myself, then maybe once I have the script, I'll memorize it with a partner, and I'll have them tell me whatever words I messed up at the end. I'll go back and think, why did I mess up those words? And 95% of the time, it's because what I said is the way I talk, not the way the character talks. So I talk like I am from Jersey, and uhs and thus and all that stuff doesn't always matter to me. But my character maybe is a proper English woman and she's speaking perfectly. So kind of having that understanding of what I'm doing and going back to the character work really, really helps me, especially if I'm feeling kind of stressed and bogged down. If I can try to put myself in the mentality of what the character is thinking, it really, really helps me kind of take away my own worries and stress and go into what the scene actually is. Same thing goes for songs. I also like to worry more about doing the homework of the piece I'm doing than memorizing, because I find if I do the homework, really figure out who my character is talking to, where they are, what they're doing, what their circumstances are, the more I can know about that, the more I can understand the scene, and then the words come a little bit easier. The last piece of advice I'll give you going into audition season is don't try to impress casting, or don't try to impress the person you're auditioning for or the people you're auditioning for. And I know this is easier said than done, and I know it almost sounds a little counterintuitive because they're the people giving you the job. I get it. But one thing I found is the more I bring myself into a room and the more I just say, hey, this is what I'm doing and this is who I am and here you go, the more I can do that, the better I feel about the audition. Because once I take myself and I'm just appreciating the person I'm bringing into casting, I don't judge the little tiny mistakes I make so much. I'm not like, oh, well, they were looking for a belter and I could have done that one note better. I could have belted higher. No, instead I'm saying, hi, I'm Mary and this is what I do. And I can bring that into any room because I am Mary and this is what I do. So the more I can do that and the more I can remember that, it just makes me feel so much calmer and feel so much better walking into any audition, any room. Another piece of advice that I was given recently by one of my dance coaches is always bring 100%. Advice is to speak correctly as well. Or not, who knows. But the advice is always to bring 100% of what you're capable of doing that day. So that means if you wake up and you're feeling 75% of your best self, bring 100% of that 75 to the audition room, instead of trying to push for a 100 that you just don't have that day. If you can give all you have to give, that's enough. You can't push yourself to burn out and do more than you're capable of. I always find a lot of comfort in remembering too the idea of, hey Mare, if you could have done better, wouldn't you have done better? Of course I would have done better if I could have done better. So I'm doing the best I have in that moment, and that brings me a lot of comfort in feeling like, yeah, this is what I have to offer and this is what I have to bring. A lot of anxiety can creep up for actors. It happens, but I think it's also really important to remember that this is your job and you chose this job because you love it. So if it's bringing you nothing but stress, I think that's the time to kind of think, hey, I love doing this. I'm doing this for a reason. I'm choosing to pursue this career and it's a privilege to be able to be part of this industry. And I think that perspective brings you a lot of comfort, at least it does for me. So with all of that being said, I hope you enjoyed some of my advice for going into audition season. I hope you have a fantastic audition season and I will see you next week. Bye, lovelies.